see, because of the.
I don't want to be in the way of
No,
any-
no, I'm good, I think.
Late breaking news?
Can't attend tonight, but wants us to read this.
Oh, no, I won't be doing that. But it'll certainly go in. I'll make a
I'll-
point.
I'll keep it
Yeah,
for the
I
rest
will
of
make a
us.
point to
Yeah.
say the letter is really for them actually to go directly to Dee,
Right.
and we just kind of volunteered to help. Okay, are we all set video-wise? Okay, this is a continuation of the Wenham Selectmen meeting, Tuesday, October 23rd. We opened the meeting at 5:30, and we've had a couple of executive sessions, and before we even start the rest of the meeting, I'm going to, with everyone's permission, change the agenda around a little bit because we have some guests tonight. These are young guests that helped in the production of the mural that's in the back of the room, and I'm going to invite Mr. Beckwith to come forward, and maybe the children, so that you can introduce yourself and the children and tell us a little bit about what we have hanging back here. And we'll have to ask you to,
Sure. Here's the microphone here.
the
Thanks.
viewing audience will only hear you if you
Good evening. My name is Andrew Beckwith. I live on Bat Shelter Park. And I don't know, several weeks or a month or so before the anniversary parade, Gary Cheeseman asked, I think, my wife to help out by putting together a sign with the town seal that would reflect some of the history of the town. And my wife very smartly roped in our neighbor, Larissa Dorinina, who is an artist, and she really gave this shape. And I don't know if the camera can see what she did, but she used all the kids and worked together and created this mural, which depicts sort of the downtown and some of the highlights of our town. And I think it's beautiful. The first time I saw it, she had just done the sky, and the colors in the sky are really rich. And like I said, she had all the kids helping out for about a week and a half. They're all chipping in and painting cars and trees and buildings. So it's a really neat project for our families and our neighborhood, and I'm so happy that it has a spot here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Can you introduce the children?
Sure. So, all right, we've got Alex Zimmerman over here, and his brother Julian Zimmerman, and their sister Nika. And this is my daughter Abigail Beckwith, and then Anna. You want to smile for the camera, hon? Anna. And they all helped out. Yeah.
Well, this was an amazing effort, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it really adds a lot to this room, certainly for color, and a lot of hard work, we can tell, went into
You
it.
guys are great.
So thanks not only
This
to
is
the,
wonderful.
6 to 13-year-olds,
2 to 13.
Two
2
to-
to 2 to 15,
2 to
actually.
15.
2 to 15. Yeah.
but also certainly
boy's on
to
here.
the artist, Dorinina, is that your? And to you and your wife, and to
Karen,
Gary,
yeah.
who's hiding somewhere, because Gary Cheeseman was also very instrumental.
He was.
I think,
Yep.
in making this happen, and also making it available to
There
hang
he
on the
is.
wall. So,
There's Gary back there now.
oh, there he is. So
Gary.
thank you, Gary. Anything else? If not, I think we're gonna.
Yeah, that's just spectacular. I can't tell you how impressed I am, so.
Do you
Glad
think
it's here.
that we
Great.
could maybe gather everyone back there and get a photo up with the mural with the kids and the adults?
Yeah.
Every time I think we've finished the celebrations for this year, we've got one more thing to go, and this is another one.
It's really
So,
beautiful.
Great.
You want to be a select woman? Come on up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Give them a couple of years.
We'll even give you a vote.
Thank goodness for cell phones, huh? Oh, look, they even match. I love the orange. Everybody. Email that to you. Hopefully you got one. Well, again, thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you. Beautiful.
Are we going back home?
Yes, we are.
Am I supposed to?
Good night.
Good night. Thank you for
Good
coming.
night.
Thanks for all your work.
Hi, Dad.
Literally. You're welcome, bye.
Goodbye.
Good thing. I know, it kind of felt a little bit that way, didn't it?
Avita.
Kind of wish, good thing Diane was here to give them a little sticker book. I always feel like I wish we had something to give them. So that was exciting. So we'll move back onto the agenda. And as we typically do at the beginning, take public input from anyone in the audience who, on items that are not on the agenda, but I don't think there are anyone. I do not think there is anyone who wants to make a public input. So we'll move on to announcements, which this week, as we've been doing, we have Jack Wilhelm back with us. Welcome back.
Jack is back.
And Jack
Here
is
I am.
back.
Halfway back anyway.
Anyway, for the moment. And
For the moment.
The announcements. Thank you.
For the first one is an announcement on the Pumpkin Fest. The Pumpkin Fest 2018 is hosted by the Hamilton Wenham Recreation Department on October 27th, 4 days from now, from 12:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pumpkin Fest returns to Hamilton on Saturday, October 27th, from 12:30 to 5:30, with pumpkin carving, face painting, arts and crafts, games, a bouncy house, a children's costume parade, and a dance party. Sounds like fun. There will be no shortage of family fun. The afternoon fun wraps up with a pumpkin in the park, when all carved pumpkins are illuminated and line the border of Patton Park's Weaver Pond while the sun sets. Sounds
Very
pretty good.
poetic, huh?
Yeah. All activities will be held at the Hamilton Public Safety Building and are sponsored by the Hamilton Wenham Recreation Department, Hamilton Fire and Police Departments, Early Childhood Partners, the Hamilton Wenham Library, the Hamilton Wenham Mothers Club, the Community House, and the TM Landscaping. Okay. The rain date. There is no rain date. No, I'm only kidding. Pumpkin carving is on, rain or shine. There is no rain date. I was right. If heavy rain falls, the outdoor activities will be canceled and the pumpkin lighting will be postponed to Monday, October 29th at 5 p.m. I don't know who gets to call heavy rain versus medium rain versus light rain, but
Might be obvious.
that's the first announcement. I think I can do two more. Hydrant flushing. Monday, October 29th, the Wenham Water Department will begin flushing fire hydrants. Flushing will continue through November 9th and will be conducted between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. The town website will provide specific location updates as they are available. Please be advised that you may experience a drop in water pressure as well as some discoloration of the water during this process. The discoloration of the water is only temporary and does not indicate a problem with the water. Excuse me. If your water does become discolored, turn on the outside faucet to clear the water line before doing any laundry or cleaning. The Water Department will continue to monitor the water quality during this period to ensure that the water remains safe to drink. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, but flushing is an important part of our system maintenance. Please contact Eric Mansfield, Wenham Water Superintendent, at extension 468-5520, extension 6, with any questions or concerns you may have. Excuse me. Next one is Community Preservation Committee public hearing, November 1st at 7 p.m. The Wenham Community Preservation Committee, and we have the chairman here tonight to elaborate on this if she wishes, or the CPC invites interested residents to attend their annual public hearing on November 1 at 7 p.m. The hearing will be an opportunity to discuss preservation needs and possibilities in the upcoming year. The hearing will be held at the Wenham Town Hall in the first floor conference room, where we are right now. The CP is now also accepting applications for CPA funding for the 2019 annual town meeting. Applications are due to the Town Administrator's Office on Monday, January 7th by 4 p.m. Application materials can be found online on the CPC page of the town website or hard copy in Town Hall, presumably with the town secretary.
It's actually, I think the applications are up in Jackie's office and our office.
Oh,
Yeah,
yep,
permitting office, excuse me.
permitting office. Questions regarding the public hearing or application process and deadline can be directed to J. Bresnahan at wenhammass.gov or 978-468-5520, extension 4, anytime during town hall hours. You want to add anything to that?
I just want to say this is an opportunity for anyone in town who has any thoughts. They don't have to have a fully documented application ready to go, but if they have any interest in any project that might be appropriate for CPC funding, this is a time to come to the meeting. I would also say we expect the Affordable Housing Trust and the Open Space Committee to be present to make an update to CPC on their plans going forward.
So they can get a chance to see what the forum looks like, talk to you, the committee, about the process. Okay.
I might say Bobby Blanchard came several years early to this, to that hearing before, it was several years after that he actually submitted the application that was finally acted on that you see up on the hill.
Oh, for Enon 1?
Yes, for anyone, right?
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Harriet. Curbside leaf pickup is to begin November 13th. The Wenham Department of Public Works annual leaf collection will begin November 13th with 1 or 2 passes of loose leaf collection, followed by a bagged leaf collection in December if needed. Just want to caution, one year we had snow and they didn't get to do 2, so make sure you get it out the first pass. Don't look for the second pass. This is me ad-libbing this announcement. Please use caution when moving loose leaves to the curb for pickup and refrain from blowing leaves into the road, which my Morgan Street neighbors need to pay attention to, which can be hazardous to motorists. The DPW will begin on the west side of Wenham, moving east. The west side is where I live, by the way. We always begin on the west side. They'll make every they make every effort to pass through each street twice, but due to the uncertainty of the weather, this time of year is not always possible. Indeed, it wasn't possible like 3 or 4 years ago. Check the town website, www.wenhammass.gov, for the scheduled route and weekly status updates. Please contact Wenham DPW with any questions you may have, which is 978-468-5520, extension 6. That's one of the most important things that the public pays a lot of attention to, leaf pickup.
Absolutely.
And Peter gets more complaints about that than anything, right, Peter?
Hardly any at all.
Sure.
Relatively speaking.
Okay, wreaths across America. Let's see if that's my last one. Yeah, it is. On Saturday, December 15th at 12 noon, the town of Wenham will lay wreaths on our veterans' graves simultaneously with participants at Arlington National Cemetery and communities across the nation. You can help by sponsoring a wreath for $15 each, volunteering, or inviting friends to help. To learn more about wreaths across America, including a link to online donations for wreaths in Wenham, visit the town website, again, wenhammass.gov, through December 3rd. Donations by check will be accepted during regular town hall hours in the Treasurer Collector's Office through November 26th, and made payable to Wreaths Across America, TM. What do you think TM stands for? Whatever. Contact Karen Tyler, Director of Veteran Services, at 978-356-3915, at ktyler@essexvets.com with any questions you may have. I know the Veterans Committee, which I'm on, and John's on too, and that, you're
Yes.
Yeah. So there's been, I've seen several emails about this.
Yeah, I've got one thing to add when you're done.
I'm done, John, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to do a very big shout out to Matt Bailey, who's the Scoutmaster for Boy Scout Troop 28 here in Wenham, because he went to the Hamilton Wenham Rod and Gun Club, and they donated $500 towards this cause to help recognize the veterans in our cemeteries in both Hamilton and Wenham. It's sort of a pilot program, and they're $15 a wreath, and for every 3 you buy, you get 1 free. So we're looking at quite a number of them. If we can try to do all of the veterans' headstones, that's ultimately the goal. And on top of that, I have also offered my building and dock access and warehousing to have them shipped to, and then somehow get them to the appropriate 2 towns.
Thank you, John.
So,
So
there we go.
did I remember 450 veterans that we want to have
Approximately
wreaths on?
400 in Wenham and about 800 in Hamilton.
That's very good.
Yep.
That's great.
Thank you, Jack.
I hope we
I
reach
was
our
very
goal.
impressed with the work that's been done, I'm blocking on his name, who did a lot of research about how many veterans we actually have in the cemeteries and stuff.
Bill Wilson.
Bill Wilson, that's
yeah.
right. He came to one of our
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Veterans Committee meetings, and boy, he was a wealth of knowledge. And that,
He was recently appointed to the Veterans Committee.
That's great.
Are they gonna be looking for volunteers to lay the wreath?
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, that's why Matt got involved, because I told him that we probably would look to Troop 28 and 35 over in Hamilton to help support the effort once.
Post something in the firehouse. list.
Yes, that would be great. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chief.
my announcements, you can help by sponsoring a wreath for $15 each, or volunteering or inviting friends to help. So they're definitely reaching out.
So volunteering with Karen.
And I think that's, we
Yes.
just, Karen's the one who's coordinating all the volunteers, so
Right.
she needs to be contacted with, just so we know how many people we have that day.
That's a wrap.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have our reports, and first up is the town administrator's report.
So past few meetings, we've made announcements about flu clinics, and just wanted to let everybody know that we had tremendous turnout at
We have the
our...
flu?
No.
Oh, because there was such
couple
a
of us
good
don't.
turnout. Yeah, right. No flu here.
That's right.
Promise.
So, three clinics that were run by the Hamilton and Wenham Boards of Health. We held ours here last week on Wednesday and had over 150 people that were vaccinated. That's more than twice the amount of people that we vaccinated last year in our first
Wow.
year. So we had, I think, just below 70 last year, and again, almost 100 adults and over 50 children this year. Residents, employees of both towns and the school district. So at the same time, for emergency preparedness, we did a drill using the Bucher School as a dispensing site. And there is still one more clinic left to go at the end of next month on November 30th from 3 to 6 at the Hamilton Council on Aging. And we do still have some doses left available here in Wenham for children 18 or under. So if you are interested, contact the health department and they can set up a time for you to come in and have that done.
I realize that that's something unique, that children, the free flu shots for children at CVS or a lot of the pharmacies that have flu shots, they have signs that say they're not free for children under 18. So this is an opportunity. I mean, of course, everybody's trying to get insurance money, but it's an opportunity for children to be vaccinated.
Yep.
I got my CVS because I was unavailable for the opportunities here in Wenham, but
Yeah,
worked fine.
yeah,
Give my insurance cards and bingo.
yeah, amazing.
There's no blood either. They have this new thing, they put a patch on and they stick you through
Through
the
the
patch.
patch.
Instead of put a little thing on,
So you
little
don't-
blood that
yeah,
dribbles out
saves
afterwards.
time and you
know.
don't
Oh,
have to
one
see
step.
any
Not
blood.
freaking anybody out with the blood business, but but then to take the patch off later on, it doesn't hurt anywhere near as much as it used to.
That's fascinating.
It doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah,
We're selling it, yeah.
we should have, I know there were some people who
Oh,
were afraid
really?
to go.
Really? I
We
was-
should do a PSA.
Oh, no, it doesn't hurt.
And before you do your next announcement, I will tell you that this has been a topic of this Main Street traffic improvement, has been a hot topic on social media these days.
So
in the last
please,
week.
those who
So
are not
this
aware,
announcement-
listen very carefully to what's going to be
And
said.
I'm going
Because
to
if you don't
probably-
like the traffic on 1A and the ease of access to 1A from Cherry Street, Monument Street, wherever you're coming from, listen up, because we're finally going to be able to do something.
And Chief, am I right? Was there another accident at
Yes.
Cherry Street on Main Street at like 4 o'clock this afternoon?
Yeah, and there was one 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Same
nice.
spot.
So, with that in mind, as we've been talking about for the better part of 2 years, we did receive $30,000 in technical assistance from the Central Transportation Planning Staff, which is essentially MassDOT's planning arm. They completed their analysis looking at the corridor from Cherry Street to Arbor. Last May, we went through a series of conceptual designs that they had analyzed and done some feasibility work on. And the feedback from the planning staff, from MassDOT, from the town staff, and the Board of Selectmen, when we went through it, was all in sync in terms of supporting, recommending the installation of 2 traffic signals that would be synchronized, one at Arbor Street and Friend Court, one at Cherry Street and the Maples. So the report was finalized in late August or early September. And so we went in and met with District 4 MassDOT officials last Thursday with our engineering team, and really wanted to get the process going on the design side and funding, quite honestly. So Main Street is 1A. It's a state road. We obviously don't have the capacity to fund it internally. It's we receive about $150,000 in Chapter 90 funds on an annual basis to keep up with road repairs and repaving townwide. So I think we had a very productive meeting, and coming out of that, the feedback from MassDOT was that they would look to initiate the project themselves internally, which bumps it along much more quickly in terms of accessing funding. My concern there was if we would be front and center involved in the design process, so we didn't lose control of what it looked like. And they assured me that that was certainly going to be the case. And so right now they're looking at several different potential funding sources, but I'm hopeful that in the next few weeks we should hear some news back one way or another on that. Initially, their feedback was that they thought that they would likely be able to fund the construction of the project, but the design would be on the town. And that could be, again, very preliminary numbers, but anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 just on the design side.
Yikes.
Which is a lot of money for us. Talking, again, a ballpark figure of $3.5 million total project cost, start to finish. So I think coming out of the meeting, if we're successful in navigating their various processes, they are going to make every effort to cover all the design costs and construction costs. And so there would be no local match. So no promises, but that's the angle that we're working right now. One of the key elements that they want to see in order to facilitate that is that there is strong local support. So they're...
What does that consist of?
Well, so there's a statutory public vetting process that's required in terms of holding a hearing and so forth. And we made the case that we've been talking about this at selectmen's meetings for 2 years. It's been covered in the paper. We had, we had the meeting where we went through all the different scenarios. It's been in our goal setting session, et cetera, et cetera. But they said, particularly for them to be able to access funds for the design component, we needed to have a separate meeting with all the key stakeholders. So the First Church, WVIS, the Maples,
The local businesses
downtown, and the museum, to make sure that everybody understands the concept.
The fire department?
Yes. And that they're, that we can represent to MassDOT that there's strong local support for the project. So I know it feels like we've been talking about this for a long time, but they just want to make sure that everybody who is potentially impacted is well aware of the project, the general scope that we're talking about.
So I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I just wanted to point out that 30 years ago, I asked the selectmen to put a light at the Cherry Street, Main Street, and they poo-pooed it, turned it down, and they said everybody up and down Main Street was against it. So you may have more opposition than you think. On the other hand, that board of selectmen has left town, one way or the other.
Well, and we've
Harry-
certainly tried to propagate the concept out there as much as possible. You know, all the feedback that I've heard, and I know there, again, is a fair amount of discussion about it on social media these days, is that everybody really feels the importance of it and the need for it. So
I know the businesses are very concerned about the traffic issue. but residents like crazy. And to Harriet's point, maybe your time has finally come.
Finally.
Oh, and actually, while I was there, and this gentleman wasn't in the meeting with us, but he's now like number 2 in the office within the district, and he said that he had worked up full design for a traffic signal at Cherry Street either 12 or 15 years ago, and that the town was not interested at the time, and it didn't go anywhere.
What they did do was reverse the driveways to the Maples.
And that's what would have to be included.
Did you do it back again?
What's that?
Because they did change them
Right,
at that point 30 years ago.
correct. But that would have to be changed with this new design, because the exit would
Light
have
has
to be
where the light is.
where the light is, exactly.
So in this stakeholder meeting, you mentioned the businesses and and the church, but I presume the public
Yeah, of course.
is a,
It's a public meeting, yes,
Yeah.
but we would specifically target, like, we would reach out to each of those groups to make sure that they were personally invited and aware of it. But yes, it's open to everybody, of course. And so that's something that we have to get scheduled actually in the next few weeks, because there are some upcoming deadlines on the state side that we are hoping to meet in order to access the funding sooner than later.
great. Actually, seems like it's moving along a little.
I'm amazed that, I think, whether it's 15 years, 30 years ago, or whatever, the traffic has got appreciably worse in the last 2 years. I mean,
Yes.
you know, why? We haven't put up new apartment buildings, but just tonight, it took me almost 10 minutes just to get across the road.
No, but our abutting communities have populated up a lot of,
Why they come to Wenham then?
Yeah,
to get somewhere else.
What do we get when they moved?
yeah. Oh, that'll be easy.
Create an overpass.
Okay.
But even in Beverly, well, it's a lot worse just in 2 years. It's like,
It really is, It's even on 128. So the other, I'm sorry, go
One
ahead.
other thing that I just wanted to mention is our fire department is holding coffees with, over the next several weeks, one at Enon Village on October 24th, one at the Maples, speaking of the Maples, on November 8th, and one at the Council on Aging on November 14th. It's just an opportunity for residents, particularly elderly residents, to meet with members of the fire department, and they'll be talking about general fire safety issues and hazards and so forth. So coffee and pastries, always good to draw a crowd.
Always gets
I just
people.
wanted to make a note that that's something
Nice.
that they're
Great,
doing.
thank you. Okay,
That's it.
so just quickly, I think this is somewhat of an update relative to the affordable housing, the affordable house that is being proposed for Hull Street. So in late September, Habitat for Humanity North Shore, which is the group that the town is working with, submitted a Chapter 40B comprehensive permit application to the state. So this is not an application to the ZBA, it's a preliminary application to the Department of Housing and Community Development. And it's a 2-unit project at 40 Hull Street. Nothing has changed since we talked about it last. Earlier this summer, we, as well as on recommendation of the Affordable Housing Trust, have approved using $230,000 in available funds to help support this. So as part of the process, probably one of the first steps, once this application is received by the DHCD, and we actually talked about it and voted on it, and I signed it a couple of meetings ago. DHCD has a 30-day formal review and public comment period prior to issuing the next step, the determination of project eligibility. So I received that letter. I think the letter was written on October 28th, September 28th, I think, around there. And since then, we have put the letter on the website. It has, all the boards have been made aware of it, as many people in the town have been made aware, and the only purpose of that 30-day period is to receive public comment on this particular project. In order to, so the deadline, that 30-day time ends, it's a funny Sunday, Monday thing, but on October 28th-ish, which is
It's a
this.
funny Sunday, Monday thing,
Well,
is that, yeah.
Oh, lightning. Well, I was counting 30 days, and I think the 30 days ends on a Sunday.
Oh, I
So
see.
I don't know what they do with that. But one way or another, this week is the last week for anyone, anywhere, to submit comments. And we've asked that they submit comments, if they choose to Town Hall. And Peter and Nikki will consolidate them, and I don't know if I sent you the person's name, but there's a particular person
Yep.
at the HCD that is looking for these, and she said email was fine. At the end of that time, literally at the end of the 30 days, we really don't have to do anything more. They will initiate this letter of, if I could think of what it's called, I would tell you, a project eligibility letter. So we have received a couple of comments, which most assuredly will be passed on to the state, and then the process goes from there. I believe in talking to Don Preston from Habitat that he is looking to close on the property, to have a closing at the end of November. So this is a little bit of a tight time frame between this date and the date of the closing, but DHCD made it sound as if they would do everything they could to work with Don and us. So just wanted everyone to know this is pretty much it. This is the week for comments. And that's all I have under reports.
All right, Madam Chair, I have a motion
Oh,
regarding executive session holdings, so if I might read it, and then we'll
Okay.
get, I guess, a very brief
Is this the
explanation as to why they're being held.
Consent
is this the
agenda.
consent agenda?
Yes. I move to approve item A in the consent agenda as presented, with all executive session meeting minutes from September 25th to be held until further notice.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there, there must be a reason for this?
No?
The reason for holding the
Just
minutes?
not ready to be,
So they're held until the reason for holding them no longer pertains. So there's still issues that are ongoing, whether it's litigation or contract negotiations or so forth.
okay. This is a different motion than I've ever seen before, so that's why I'm asking.
Normally, the
question.
consent agenda also includes more than just the minutes. This is the
Right.
first time since we've done the consent agenda that it only
Oh, that's true.
included
Yeah,
the
maybe I'm
minutes.
just looking at it unilaterally or something.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some
Okay.
standard language which Peter just paraphrased, that usually, when you do that, when the secretary usually does it, which is usually me, prior to you-
Yeah.
that Peter's words, we put in, if you're gonna hold them.
Okay,
But
Got it.
Peter just did it for you.
thank you. All right. Then,
So,
Just CYA moves, anyway.
did we have a second?
yes, we did.
Okay.
Any discussion, further discussion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's it, I'm done.
We have to
Consent
raise our hand
agenda
now. We don't
done.
have to raise our hand on the other ones, Captain.
No, I know, it's just, it's like I'm still in school. Sometimes people say, you're not speaking loudly enough, I don't hear you. So, yes.
For new business.
Yeah.
Just because we actually had an ambulance call right before the meeting,
Oh.
I'd ask that we just skip item B for now and circle back to it. Oh, maybe not.
And the door opens?
Skip it.
Okay. Oh, you mean because he's here?
No, he's
No.
yeah, he's not here.
All right,
So-
sure. So we'll just move on to
Real thunder?
letter C, which is a discussion of options for disposition of the old Council on Aging van. And Jack, you actually have letter C, now that we've skipped B for the moment.
I was just relaxing here, too.
Perfect timing, Jim.
Okay. You gonna read your own number, Peter? Go ahead.
So last year, we bought a new Council on Aging van. We received a grant for $48,000 of the $60,000 purchase price from the state. Town meeting had approved originally a $12,000 appropriation from free cash to cover the balance of the cost. In the end, we ended up drawing from the COA van gift account that $12,000 to meet that local match requirement. And just very high level, that account brings in revenues from suggested donations of $3 a ride that the Council on Aging van provides. And on the revenue side and on the expense side, covers annual fuel costs for the van, which is around $3,000 a year. That's something relatively new as a way to honestly reduce cost to the operating budget, and it's a clearly associated use with that account. So we have the old vehicle. It's 2009 Ford E350, 8-passenger van with just under 130,000 miles on it. When we purchased the old van back 10 years or so ago, we at the time donated
The old
the
one.
old van to an entity called the Service Dog Project out of Ipswich. We had heard that they were interested in receiving the new old van and reach out to them, and there's a letter to that effect expressing their interest in your packet. So just in terms of procedure, according to MGL Chapter 30B, the town can opt to donate vehicles to 501c3 organizations at less than market value if it so chooses. On the other hand, we can post the vehicle on an online clearinghouse called Municipid for the disposition of municipal property, and just to give the board some orientation on that. A few weeks ago, we were able to dispose of a 1984 pickup truck, the old fire department brush truck, which is 30 plus years old, and sold it for $5,000 through that process. So based on the aging condition of the current COA van, I think we probably would see something upwards of that in terms of a return for that vehicle if we went that route. And I did check with the town accountant, and the proceeds from the sale, if we so chose, wouldn't necessarily be directed to the general fund. It could go to the COA gift account that we just used the $12,000 to purchase the new van. So I think would be an appropriate use if we did opt to go that route. So
I don't see a motion in here.
So it was meant to just be an initial discussion tonight and get some feedback from the board and answer questions. And we had expected actually a representative from the Service Dog Project to be here, and I don't see her.
Anyone have an opinion?
Yeah, sounds fine.
I think there are two choices: donate to this service group or try to sell it and either give the proceeds to have him go to the general fund or to the COA van gift account.
I'm for the latter.
Selling it, going to the COA.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you.
you think, John?
I
There you
think
go.
so. I think that makes sense.
Move second, all in favor? Aye, okay.
I mean, to be clear, for the service project, it's a wonderful service project, and this wouldn't be a message against the service organization. I think it's a message of where we have our own financial difficulties.
And turn it inside.
We can turn this
to
into
ourselves,
cash
yeah.
and
Yeah.
use that cash for the Council on Aging gift account that we just took cash out
So
of.
we don't have to go find all new money all the
So
time.
that just makes sense.
Charity begins at home.
Right. I think for this year and for this van.
What's that?
Is this for surplus?
What do you think, Jim?
Just to-
I agree.
Just
That was the right answer, Jim. Very good.
Wholeheartedly agree.
You get two
So-
attaboys for that one. Sorry.
Does it expedite anything for us to vote? Because we could make up a motion, or we could just vote at the next meeting.
I think if you just want to make a motion tonight would be fine. All right. We normally have one drafted up, but I just didn't expect it to go that quickly.
Well, so.
We're always
I will-
saying, give us a break here now.
Entertain a well, this, one, I don't know, seemed pretty easy, I guess, for all of us, and is anyone uncomfortable voting on this tonight?
No,
So I will,
absolutely not.
I'm going to do the chairman thing. I will entertain a motion that we put this van as described on Municipid and use the proceeds from that sale to go toward direct the proceeds from that sale to the COA van gift account.
I'll second that.
I would just say that the motion include declaration of surplus property in case we end up getting a bid higher than $10,000.
Okay. So what does that specifically need to say?
Just to declare the,
Oh, to declare it surplus.
exactly.
Okay. And there was one other thing. No, I guess that has everything that we need. Okay.
I did have one last comment.
Yeah.
As to the disposition of, our seniors are very, very important in town.
I think so, too.
And keeping some of these revenues in town to make sure that they have a viable means of transportation is very, very helpful. I've seen it over and over again, and I'm sure Jim can speak to it better than I, as to how much good use that vehicle has for us. And I remember when we first started this program of a van and the struggles we went through to put the money together to get the first van. So sustaining that ability comes from taking the value we've got here and putting it back, reinvesting it.
So do we have on Municipid, do we have a reserve amount or a minimum?
So we would determine that, and that's not something that we would necessarily want to broadcast.
No, but I've just, in
public.
in general, I don't want the
Yes.
number, I just want to, because it would be a shame to get some very, very small amount for it.
Yeah, no, we can post a reserve,
can do
and
that.
I think we probably would start a little high, and then if we didn't get that number, maybe bring it down a second time.
Great,
So,
okay.
yes.
I just wanted to assure ourselves that we were going to get the money.
Yep.
Okay. I guess we'll continue.
We can't continue
Well,
it yet.
Well, we can skip,
We have to
continue
finish
to
this
skip.
mo- we
Oh,
have to
did we
finish
not
this.
vote? Oh, my gosh, you're the sick one, and I can't even run a minute.
So you made the motion, I
Yes,
seconded
you
it.
seconded it. So all in favor?
Aye. Now we can move on.
Actually, I said I would entertain a motion, but that's fine. Can you handle that?
We're all in gear
Okay.
tonight, I can tell.
Then you answered your own question, entertaining the motion.
Okay, now can I move on? I just want to make sure, because these days I'm not so
Like to
sure.
start with John for
Yeah.
a minute.
I think so.
We think so.
Okay, so this is actually John's agenda item, and we are continuing to skip
Oh, do we
the
skip?
fire-based EMS
Oh,
pilot
yeah.
program, because I think our fire person is still at a call.
Oh, we're
So this is referral of request for street acceptance of Settlers Lane to the planning board for review and recommendation.
I can step to the plate, chief, and take your position for right now, so take your time. All right, what the board is being asked is to move this petition for acceptance of a street called Settlers Lane, which is right down off of Arbor Street, off to the planning board so that they can review, who know a whole lot more than us as to the complete viability of expectations being met for that road requirements. So I would like to make that motion, Madam Chair.
Please do.
I move the Board of Selectmen refer the request for street acceptance of Settlers Lane to the Planning Board for their review and recommendation. And I assume that recommendation means coming back here?
Goes to town meeting ultimately.
That's right. Okay, thank you. You're
Is there
right.
a second?
Second?
Can you explain just briefly what this whole process is, the steps in this process to John's point? So we're requesting the planning board review this information,
Correct,
and they will make a recommendation.
correct.
And
And there's a certain statutory timeline leading up to town meeting that we have to complete those steps before. And this request actually came in, you might remember, this request came in initially the very end of January, maybe even beginning of February last year. And we just didn't have enough time to be able to go through the planning board review process and still make it before the warrant was closed for town meeting.
And if I might, for the public's sake, Settlers Lane is a relatively small, and I think it's, what, 5 homes?
Six unit subdivision, standard subdivision.
That, as I said, is right off of Arbor Street, and supposedly meets all the requirements.
Yeah, so the finished paving work has been done. There was one lot that hadn't yet been developed and is now, you'll see, there's construction on the corner lot right on Arbor Street there. And there are a few conditions. We've reached out to all the department heads. There are a few conditions we want to have included so that the current developer is clear just in terms of what we're looking for. They have a newer form of catch basin called a storm scepter that needs to be vacuumed. And so we want to make sure that they do that before we take it on, because that's going to be a...
So they're responsible for that?
Before we accept it.
Before
But
the
once we accept it, then we're going to be
It's
responsible
our
for...
responsibility.
Which we don't have a piece of equipment to do. Is that
Yeah, we
correct?
contract out all catch basin cleaning, but it's a different kind of vehicle, so...
Different vacuum?
No, it's
No, exactly.
having 3 of them in front of my house, I'm quite familiar with this piece of equipment,
Oh, you
thankfully,
are.
because they do such a good job.
Right, so, so it would be every second or third year need to clean these particular, it's really with the new MS4 stormwater permitting requirements, we are likely going to be replacing the ones that we can't rebuild. The new catch basins we'll be installing will be storm scepters. So we will have a need for hiring a vacuum truck in the next several years ourselves.
So would that be a planning board condition? Be a condition of their
Correct.
recommendation?
Yep.
Okay, so, and then from the planning board to town meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Those are my questions. So I think we had a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'm all set.
So we're ready to vote on that motion?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Moves.
Question, is that going to be coming back to us as selectmen to put it on the warrant in time for these next town meeting?
Yeah, the board has to formally vote to put it
Oh,
on
it
the
does,
warrant.
yeah, it does come back.
And if it doesn't-
For that purpose.
Yeah.
But really, unless there's any major issues that the planning board have raised, that's just...
But it has to come back to us by, I don't know, February, March, or something like that.
Correct. So the
February.
planning board already has had an initial discussion about this particular request, and so I would expect their review in short order. Part of the conversation we had around our lead-up to town meeting was trying to address some of these issues sooner than later. So this is your first example of something that is
Sooner.
sooner than not, to try to get ahead of...
We appreciate that.
Yep.
So we have run out of agenda items to
Shucks.
punt. Well, yeah, so I think we are going to have to go back to B, under new business, which is a presentation on the status of fire-based EMS pilot program. And Chief Kavanaugh is here.
Vanetta, the 2 captains that were supposed to be here, they're a pretty serious call, so,
Oh, I'm sorry for that.
yeah.
Do with the lightning and stuff?
No,
That was before the lightning, I think. But thank you for coming, and thank you for putting together this report.
thank you for having me.
I'll have to just find it. There we go.
So since the start of the Wenham Fire Department ambulance on March 26, 2018, up until September 30th, 2018, the ambulance has responded to 218 calls. The numbers below, which you have in front of you,
Yep, we read it.
reflect how many calls for each particular group and how they were transported. We had 85 patient refusals, 4 lift assists, 5 well-being checks, 109 BLS transports, 21 ALS intercept, and 10 alternate transports, which would be another ambulance service. Like if we had a double call.
Oh, okay. I wondered what that was. Thank you.
and BLS is basic life support, ALS, advanced life support. We had 218 calls that resulted in patient contact 234 times. This number comes from multiple refusals at a single incident, like a motor vehicle accident. You could have 5 people in the car and get 5 refusals.
Oh.
The projected number of ALS calls was 15% when we started the study, and we are currently at 10%.
So if I may interrupt, we projected that 15% of our calls would be ALS, and actually, at the moment, the data
We
that
are
we
at
have is
10%.
showing 10%.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which, net to us means more revenue
Yeah.
Yeah.
than we had originally.
It's
Yes.
interesting. Be interested to see how that, if that continues. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The average number of personnel responding to each medical call, including motor vehicle accidents and carbon monoxide incidents, is 7. Over the past several years, the average number of personnel per call was 9, and has dropped due to a decrease in EMTs. There were 22 EMTs, and now down to 17. That's due to some retirements, we're gonna try and put some more people on. People are still going for their EMT, and as soon as they get it, we'll be putting those people on.
So you think we've got some people in the queue to
Yes.
fill out those
Yeah.
numbers? Okay.
Response times. The average time for the ambulance to arrive on scene is 6 minutes and 30 seconds. The monthly high response time is 6 minutes and 56 seconds. And the monthly low response is 6 minutes and 4 seconds
Ah, there
over
we are.
those 6 months. The payer mix for the town of Wenham was projected at 50-50 split during the study, and is currently at a 60-40 split between residents who will be covered by these private insurance providers and those who will be covered by Medicare, Medicaid. The reimbursement rates through these federal programs are much lower, about $400 for BLS transport. Pro EMS, the billing company for the Wenham Fire Ambulance, has billed out from March 26, 2018 to September 30th, 2018, an amount of $174,352.50. And after contractual and manual allowances and also write-offs, our net is $96,402. Checks from insurance carriers take about 3 to 6 months to be sent to our account, and we are now receiving checks on a regular cycle. The town has received approximately $34,524.21 in payments. At this time, we have a collection rate of 28%, and this number will continue to climb as we add more billable insurance providers. The projected amount of $150,000 was from our study, and we are on target to reach $180,000 for the pilot year. To build our insurance provider base, it will take about 16 to 18 months, because every time a new insurance provider comes in, we have to do the paperwork, and so we can bill them at a future time. The startup costs for the town ambulance were minimal due to the fire department gift account and the Wenham Fire Company. These donations are from our very kind and generous residents. Some of the items are listed below. The ambulance, purchased through the gift account for $7,000. When purchased, it met Mass State regulations for BLS licensure. Stair chair, purchased through the gift account for $3,600. A stretcher, this was purchased through the Wenham Fire Company for $1,960. And the Lucas device, this was purchased through the Wenham Fire Company for $16,000. All cost savings for the town. Ongoing costs, a projected capital expense of $75,000 to $100,000 for ambulance replacement for fiscal year 2021. We know that because the ambulance isn't going to last forever, and for $7,000, it was good to get the ball rolling, to get something in the account. Just as a note, Atlantic ALS will be responding to emergencies through protocols already in place at the rec, and will cover any additional BLS calls when we are on another call or unable to respond. And in closing, since the start of the pilot program, I'm very proud the hard work put in by the members of this department. The firefighters have shown true dedication and professionalism, not only to the department, but to the residents. They've just done a outstanding job getting this going.
Thank you. Questions for the chief?
Very impressive, Chief, very impressive. Great job.
It has been quite a project.
Yeah.
Particularly impressed with all the money that the town didn't have to spend for all the things you just listed a minute ago, the stretchers
Yes.
and all the rest of the stuff that was, in effect, donated.
My comments are, I've followed this project since the beginning, and I've read through all of your documentation and the work that your captains and yourself and your predecessors and your department have done.
Yeah.
This is one of the most outstanding, to use one of your words, projects I have seen done in this town in a very, very long time. You guys, your department has often been a very unsung hero. And one more time, there is so much good in what you are doing that I could spend a lot of time discussing it with the public tonight. But I think, but I'm not going to.
The World Series is on, John.
I'm going to give you, that's right, and I want to be there.
39
I'm going to
minutes.
give you two takeaways for the public.
41, actually.
One is, this is going to generate, not only pay for itself as a program, but generate significant revenues for the town,
Yes.
which is a very rare thing to happen.
Yeah.
Secondly, and more importantly, is the response time and the care that is given by our men and women who are on this program, serving this community, is superior to the outliers that we used to hire.
Yes.
So my commendations to you folks one more time.
Thank you. No, and I'm very proud of everyone. They've all stepped up to the plate and done a tremendous job.
So as is my custom, I echo certainly these kudos, and I know this will continue to be a success, but I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One that I interrupted you for, which had to do with staffing, and I think you answered that you're comfortable that we'll get back to that
Yes.
EMT level.
Yes.
The response time, and I'm trying to remember, even it was mentioned earlier, the response time of 6 minutes and 30 seconds, my recollection is that is significantly better than we had in general with our previous
Yes.
plan. Can you give me a sense of what a typical response time would have been before we had our own ambulance in the last year or so?
Right, anywheres from 11 on the whole year. Yeah.
So from an average of 11 minutes in
We've
6
lowered it 5
months,
minutes,
we've
yeah.
lowered it almost in half.
Yeah.
Okay, that's impressive. The payer mix that you talk about, 60/40, that's 60% private and 40%
Yes.
Medicare?
Yeah.
So,
So it's in our favor again.
yes,
Government,
government, yeah.
Medicaid.
Non-private. And then, relative to the billing, which I know is
Yep.
complicated, but I think my question is not complicated. What would be considered contractual and manual allowances and write-offs?
Like if we bill for $2,000, they may only give us $1,200. So
The insurance company might call that the
Can
reasonable
answer
rate.
that probably better.
Oh, sure. Can you come up to the podium so everyone can hear you? Thank you. Whoops.
Those cost money, Jeff.
I have a feeling that's tougher than,
So, like Blue Cross Blue Shield or Harvard Pilgrim, some of the privates like that have a negotiated rate that we have to go by.
Sure.
So that would be the contractual rate, even though we say we're gonna bill, say, $2,000, their rate might only be $1,400.
okay,
Let me amplify that. They're required to have a uniform set of charges,
yeah.
period. And so you want to set the charges at the higher than the most generous payment you're getting from anybody, probably Blue Cross or one of them. And then, so the contractual allowances would be anything you got less than that from any of the payers, including the best payers, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about our net 96,000, the 96,000 is what we've ended up not billing the insurance company, but allowed to be paid by the insurance companies. Is that kind of a fair way to say that? And the collection rate of 28%, meaning that everything that's sent in the end, we receive 28% of that as a
Just where
result.
we're at today with what we have received in, yes,
Right.
correct?
Because it was such a delay in getting
Right.
our first payment.
It's still
And
pretty,
now it's going to go
Almost,
we-
It's almost a meaningless number.
just
though.
about every day right now, we're adding a new insurance company, which is
Right.
like 6 to 10 pages to add that new insurance company.
Yeah.
And some of the questions I'm asking are really to understand the definitions, because I'm expecting 6 months from now, we're going to get a very similar report, and the numbers then will make some,
They'll be much
Just
improved.
go on YouTube
Yeah.
and just listen to your answers to the questions.
no. I will ask just one last simple one from my own edification. What is a Lucas device? And thank you very much for the Wenham Fire
It's
Company for
a
paying for
machine
it.
that does chest compressions.
Oh, I've seen it. I didn't know that was called.
It is.
Okay.
It is an awesome machine because coming down a flight of stairs, most of the time we'd have to stop. This just keeps going.
Yeah, so you've used it.
Yeah, I think the city of Gloucester used it for over 2 hours and revived someone.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Man, that's,
Well, for anyone in town who was concerned that this was going to affect our level of service in any way, shape, or form, they certainly should not be concerned.
Yes.
It's
Sounds-
improved.
It sounds like improved
Yeah.
and is, to John's point, going to help us financially and certainly pay for itself.
Yes.
So, thank you very much for all the hard work.
You're welcome.
All
In
of you.
6 months, we'll give you another report.
We'll be looking forward
thank
to
you.
it.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Of course, you
Sounds
may
like-
have a few less calls if we put in that street light out here and slow the
Right.
traffic down,
Next year,
but you'll have to factor that in.
right.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
And the assumptions that were made at the beginning, for the most part, were conservative. So the actuals, for the most part, are to our favor, at least so far.
Yeah,
Which
right.
is
Well,
nice.
We didn't
We
want to
didn't-
oversell the
Yeah, no,
program.
it's
And
perfect.
certainly, on the revenue side, that was an important component of it, but we all agreed that service was really first and
Right.
foremost. And I think on that end, it's certainly borne itself out of how much more responsive we're able to be on those really important medical calls for our residents.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great. Okay, I don't think we have anything else on the open meeting agenda, unless you guys have something else. We do, however, have an executive, a third executive session. And I should probably have a motion for this somewhere, right? There it is. So I move that the Board of Selectmen enter into executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21-6, to consider the purchase, exchange, taking, lease, or value of real property if such discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the governmental body. This has to do with Community Preservation Act historic preservation restrictions, and we will adjourn from executive session.
Second.
Who are we? Did we have- Who are we including? Oh, Sharon.
That's right, yeah.
I'm thinking, wait, who are we including?
Yeah.
To
I think
include
she's just
council.
sitting there looking pretty for
I'm
nothing.
so sorry. Sharon Everett? Is that your last name? In our executive session. So all in favor, we're going to roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye, aye.